The Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business Podcast brings you a unique view of Mesa through its vibrant business community and the subjects that are important. The podcast is produced in the Mesa Chamber of Commerce Media Studio, sponsored by the University of Phoenix. Our podcast is hosted by Mesa Chamber of Commerce CEO Sally Harrison. Please enjoy this episode of the Mesa Chamber Inside Business Podcast.
Dementia consultant and family guide Pam Ostrowski provides a path to relieve the fear, anxiety, and confusion that family members experience when a loved one is diagnosed with dementia. Pam is the founder of Alzheimer's Family Consulting, a speaker, a certified senior advisor, and a certified dementia practitioner, and is certified in dementia care. She is also the author of the highly rated It's Not That Simple, Helping Families Navigate the Alzheimer's Journey, which is available on Amazon. And today, Pam is with me in our media studio. I am so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much, Sally. It's wonderful to be here. I'm glad that we're going to have this conversation.
There's a lot to cover.
That's for sure.
There is a lot to cover. So let's talk about what made you decide to write a book about Alzheimer's.
Well, so we went through our 14-year journey, Mom, Dad, and me, where Mom had dementia, then Alzheimer's, and then towards the end of actually the middle of Mom's Alzheimer's, Dad got dementia. Oh. So there was really, I could not find any resources. And what I really wanted was someone to hold my hand. And so I wrote the book to help all of those families out there who have a loved one who's just been diagnosed with dementia, to ask the right questions, to understand how do you start these conversations? Right. All of that is in the book.
Well, you had 14 years worth of experience to put in the book, right?
Exactly.
So what do you cover in It's Not That Simple, Helping Families Navigate the Alzheimer's Journey?
Well, the key thing to it is that I start off with just, what is dementia and what is Alzheimer's and what's the difference between them?
I was going to say, I think people don't understand that there is a difference.
Right. Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. Alzheimer's is a disease. Dementia is a condition. And there's 70 different types of dementia. So
that's just amazing to me. That's a huge number.
Well, and now they're reporting that there's mixed dementias. Okay. So for
that's new to me.
Get your current news from me. So the mixed dementia concept is really about the ability to have 2 different types or 3 different types of dementia running at the same time. So if you have behaviors, that could be Lewy body, and then if you have short-term memory loss and task inability, then you've got Alzheimer's. So you could actually have both at the same time. But back to the book.
I learned so much when I'm with you.
Why, thank you.
I do.
It's that training and certification thing that helps. But the important thing in the book, though, is that it does walk you through step by step each part of the journey. That includes living arrangements, care options, building a care team. Very important.
Sure.
You should not do this journey alone. This is not a heart attack or cancer or any of those types of diseases. This person is disappearing on you, and they cannot help you as they decline. Right. You end up taking up more care responsibilities. So as a result, I covered care team, how to visit, how to communicate. The emotional roller coaster is another chapter that is just, oh my gosh, it gives me chills even when I think about what's in that chapter, because it is so difficult, because you have moments of joy and then you have lots of moments of sadness and then you have moments of joy, and it's just back and forth and hope and disappointment and all the emotions. So the book is really focused on those topics, and then within each of those topics are questions to ask, conversation starters. So how do you even sit down? Possible wording. How do I sit down with you, Sally, and say, well, I think we need to talk about Dad's diagnosis. And you turn around and say, he's fine. We get a lot of denial. And so there's family dynamics that I talk about. And that's what I do when I'm coaching, is kind of walk through some of those family dynamics. Right. So that, and then there's a glossary in the book, because so many people don't know, well, what's an advance directive? What do you mean by, the paralysis of the throat? Why would somebody not be able to swallow? So all of those different terms that come with this disease are as part of the book as well. So it's a one-stop shop type of guidebook.
That's awesome. And I have the book and I've read the book, so I can say that's awesome and really mean it.
Thank you.
Well, in addition to the book, you started a company.
I did.
Alzheimer's Family Consulting. Tell us about what you do with your company.
Well, when I wrote the book, and I'd sat on many flights, and and I would start to talk about the book, or someone would say, "Oh, my mom is suffering from Alzheimer's." You end up with a 3.5-hour conversation, as you well know. I believe this happened to you as well.
It did. It happened to me on a flight.
And so they said, "Well, do you offer a service? Do you offer someone that where I can go, because you have experience, you've lived this journey,
Right.
You're trained in dementia care, you understand what's happening from a medical perspective, from a financial perspective, from a care perspective, from a personal, emotional perspective,
Right.
family perspective." And I said, geez, that's a really good idea. So after I finished publishing the book, I then started Alzheimer's Family Consulting to help families get relief, to have a path and a direction from all that fear and that anxiety and the confusion that comes with this diagnosis.
I would think that it's got to be, I don't know, just as scary or even more scary to get a diagnosis like that for a loved one than it would be for heart or cancer.
I would agree. I mean, we're learning how to provide better quality of life for cancer, heart disease, all of those things. We're able to, in some way, shape, or form, at least prolong the quality of life. With dementia, unless you're diagnosed early, there are medications, and you know what? This is such a unique disease that medications may work for one person, but they won't work for another. And if you're into, early to mid-stage Alzheimer's in particular, a lot of the medications are ineffective. And that's when most women are diagnosed as mid-stage. So the medications don't typically work. It gives people hope, though, that they're going to somehow stop the clock. And it's like, well, you may slow the clock,
right.
but the likelihood of you stopping the clock isn't very high.
Yeah. Well, what's a tip that you could share with family members now that we're heading into the holidays?
Oh, the holidays.
I mean, 'cause that's rough. It's a rough time for all of us, right?
Yes, it's stressful. So it comes down to, and this is advice for anybody going through the holidays, manage your expectations.
Okay.
So often I was talking to a client and she said, "Oh, we're having Thanksgiving dinner and we're going to pick up mom in memory care and we're going to bring her over and we've got all her favorite foods." And I said, "Okay, so let's stop for a second." So what her favorite foods were may not still be her favorite foods. So if she spits something out or does something that might offend you, then just let it go.
Yeah, got to roll with it.
That's one of the my favorite 3 words. Let it go. Attaching to it does nothing. And this isn't about you. It's about them. These are your last moments of joy with them. Right. And it might be an opportunity to, get to know where they're at better, but absolutely managing expectations and then managing expectations of anyone else who will be.
The rest of the family.
Exactly. So grandchildren show up. And I've had some, what I would consider amusing stories about a loved one with memory issues who turns around and says, "You're just a brat." I mean, they have no filter.
Sure.
So, right. And you're kind of calling a spade if the kid's being a brat.
Sure.
However, they're not going to have a filter. Everybody else is going to tolerate the child. The person with dementia will not.
Right.
And then the sad side of that might be, "I don't know who you are." And they could say it to anyone. And it can be devastating for young children. Sure. So for them to understand that things might not be the same and finding the right words and phrasing for that child, and then not reprimanding the person, your loved one, and saying, "You know who that is, that's Joey, and you know that's Joey." And because what they hear is the emotion. They don't hear the words. They hear the emotion. It's like, "I did something bad." Yeah. Then they get sad, right? And then they want to leave. So the fastest way to get them out the door is to make them feel bad, right? Sure. Just like the rest of us. Right. And then, that ultimately is understanding, managing expectations about how long they're going to be there, all of those aspects of the holidays. Yeah. Absolutely.
Holidays are rough. Well, what kind of other tips do you have for folks?
Well, probably the biggest one is have a plan, no matter what you're doing. So if you're going to the doctor's office, if you're having people over for the holiday, so for the holidays in particular, it's important for you to know, when are we picking the loved one up? What if they don't want to come? So you can either try to convince them, which could go badly. It could go fine. You could say, oh, let's go for ice cream, right? Something they enjoy. Oh, I could go for ice cream. I'll go for ice cream. And then you pull up to your house. They're not going to turn around and say, you said we were going for ice cream, because they don't remember. But you can say, we have ice cream at the house. Let's have ice cream at the house. And then there will be people there. It's best to get them settled first. So you have to write this plan down, share it with the family, have a conference call or an in-person meeting, however you want to do it, and have that conversation to say, okay, here's a plan. So we get Dad in, and he sits down, and he's in his chair. And then we assign Sue to take care of him and monitor him, because he's not going to know where the bathroom is. And even if he's incontinent and has something to take care of that, he may want to get up and use the bathroom somehow. So if he wants to do that and he's not very stable, he doesn't know where he's going, things could turn south really quickly. So you want to make sure that someone is his watchdog, and don't keep changing people, because he'll get confused. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? You know, keep it with the same person. That's the person I can trust to help me. If I have a question, I need food, I need water. Keep them very hydrated. It's really important. Hydration is key.
So I've heard that recently, that the dehydration piece sets in very quickly.
Yes.
And that it can kind of overwhelm the situation.
Yes. So the brain is like 90% water. And anytime that you don't get enough water, the brain actually folds in on itself and starts to malfunction a bit. So it doesn't work as well, basically.
I must be dehydrated.
Everybody have a lot of water, please. Everybody take a sip. And so what you need to take into account then is hydration is a big deal. And if you want your best experience possible, you're going to want to make sure that they're hydrated. Let them choose. You can give them a little bit of food, types of food on their plate. They may struggle with utensils, depending on what stage they're at. If they struggle with utensils, give them the visual cue. Do not grab that fork and knife and cut food for them. They are not 3 years old. They've lived a full, dignified life. They earned your dignity and your respect. And so what you do is you sit down next to them, or put somebody next to them, and they start eating. And the dementia is a very mimicking type of disease or condition. And so we want to make sure that they can see what they're supposed to do. So if you pick up the fork intentionally, and then take a look at your loved one and have them pick up their fork, and then you eat, and then they'll mimic that. And so ultimately that's, so it's really just, all the way down to the details of have a plan, because that's going to make that whole event much easier.
For everybody.
And it doesn't matter. Even you're going to the doctor's office, you got to do the same thing. You can't leave them in the car by themselves, So there's a ton of details that you don't think about with someone with dementia.
Okay. Well, those are good tips, because I don't think everybody thinks about
it's a long
the
list.
plan, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, what would you say is the most important thing families with loved ones with dementia should know?
I would say that the biggest thing is to take a deep breath, be patient, be compassionate, and provide as many moments of joy. It could be a puppy, it could be a soft stuffed animal, it can be flowers, it could be anything. My mom's wheelchair, I used to take these, I found them at Target, I think, and they're these flowers, little fluffy flowers, and they have a wire inside of them, and you can spin them around everything. And she had probably 6 or 7 different flowers all over her wheelchair, so that she could stroke them and pet them and look at them and smile at them.
So just that sensory piece?
Yes, sensory is really important, but visual. They were pinks and yellows and greens and blues and, very bright colors. So it was stimulating. And ultimately, that's what we have to provide to the loved one. And one of the reasons why I feel as if people need to think about where their loved one's going to live long term. Because living at home, they're not going to get the stimulation and the engagement and all of the things that they need in watching other people eat. That is a perfect example. Watching their peers eat shows them what they're supposed to do. When they live at home, there's a lot of attitude that goes with it. And frankly, people are exhausted. It's an exhausting caregiving disease. People who caregive at home for dementia specifically have a 20 to 60% higher rate of the 5 top chronic conditions and diseases. So cancer is number 1, more likely to get cancer, stroke, heart attacks, obesity,
and
diabetes.
You did this for 14 years.
I did not. No, my parents, I made sure that they were in a care community.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, I took care of all the details, and I called the place every day. But, yeah, there's professional caregivers, people who are dementia trained with programs, and that is, the environment that gives them the most stimulation.
But even being the coordinator of care has got to be exhausting.
It is. It's overwhelming and exhausting. Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, you're involved with the Chamber's Aging and Healthcare Committee, and I appreciate that because obviously we need those that are involved to be involved, right? But we launched the Dementia Friendly Mesa initiative. Gosh, has it been maybe close to a year ago now? It seems like, well, we didn't have last year, did we?
No.
Anyway, what are your thoughts on the benefits of becoming a dementia-friendly business?
So let me say that...
Talk about what that means.
Well, and first let me say that a lot of people may not realize that Maricopa County, within the next 3 to 4 years, will have between 250 and 350,000 people with dementia.
That's a staggering number.
That's a Maricopa County. That's not just Arizona.
Right.
And it's not the
huge.
country. Yeah, exactly.
That is just, that is staggering.
Now think about where those people live. Over 65 and over. It's on all the outskirts cities. And so ultimately, it will be Mesa that will carry much of that population. So if I'm running a business, it makes sense for me to serve a population that may be underserved. And I'll tell you what, one of the things that we learned with the committee is that it's easy things. So if you're a business and you want to help people over 65 who are suffering from dementia, then you would adjust your lighting, make it a little brighter. Honestly, I am nowhere near 65, and I could use some extra lighting.
I find myself turning the little flashlight on my phone when I'm reading a menu in many restaurants.
Absolutely.
The print is small, the lights are dim. I'm like,
no signage.
Man.
So business owners, if you're out there, and I know you are, because Sally has lots of friends, but the key things are increase your lighting. Print larger font on your menu. It's not going to kill you. Move to 3-4 pages instead of 2. It's okay. And then increase your signage to restrooms, signage to the exit, any signage that helps. If there's a step, put a sign at eye height that says step, because nobody's looking down. And so if it says step and then an arrow, then visuals are huge. So as far as the bathrooms go, I went somewhere and it was not intuitive. Oh, I know. It was a golf course pro shop. And I went to the restroom and it said LPGA and PGA. And I thought a person with dementia would be like, no idea what either one of those are. Can I use both? So with when you know that you're going to be serving that community, having a W or an image of like you see a lot, the dress and the pants, and I'm wearing pants right now, so I would be confused now, but ultimately that's at least helpful to have the kind of visuals. This is the bathroom, and this is even when it comes to sink and soap, labeling the soap and that type of thing, so that they know what it is a step in the right direction. So it's easy. Frankly, all of those changes are free. I was going to say are free. There's no cost to them. Yeah. So and those, once somebody walks in and sees, oh, this was a relaxing experience. I don't feel relaxed when I go out elsewhere. So I'm going to come back here because it feels good. And I will tell you, the family members who make the decisions. I was just going to say, the
family members, that's important to them.
Exactly, because it's like, oh, finally, we got a chance to just sit and relax and not worry about it. And I could tell you, when my mom was going through Alzheimer's and we were still going out to restaurants, and we went to the restaurant that has like a 30-page menu, and she just flipped through it, and she could see the words. She could probably still read, but she couldn't retain. And I said, why don't you and I just split the salmon? And she said, oh, I'd love that, because I was relieving her from the decision and the embarrassment, frankly, in front of my father, that I can't read the menu. I don't have no idea what I'm going to order.
Right. Oh, man. Well, talk about the training itself, because I know our team here at the Chamber has gone through the training. I know some of our business community has, obviously, the Aging and Healthcare Committee, but it's simple.
It's an hour.
Yeah. And there's no cost involved.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But to me, it was kind of just an eye-opener of just things to watch and be aware of when we have that, that elderly person that comes in and might exhibit some of those
might be struggling
things that they need help with.
Yeah, cognitive issues, reading issues, or it's very typical for all of us, over the age of 50, run into that issue of not being able to see in the darkness and that type of thing. But having a little bit more obvious cues, visual cues. But the training is so important because, first of all, it's an hour. So everybody sit down for an hour at lunch or whatever, and either in the morning, in the evening, or the afternoon, whichever. We just pick a time. And a Dementia Friendly coach will go through and talk to you about things and answer your questions. Well, and a lot of times people will say, well, how do you know somebody has cognitive impairment? How do you know somebody's like that? And now we have the really cool cards when they're accompanied by
talk
someone.
About the cards.
Well, you ordered them. So.
Well, I did. You helped design them, though.
Okay. Well, so the cards are basically this sweet message, and I saw them, and that's why I brought it up to you. I thought, this would be really good for Dementia Friendly Mesa.
Yeah.
Because they basically, if I'm a family member, I can hand the card to the wait staff, the hostess, and just, put my finger, the sign to not say, what is this? Don't give me that or whatever.
Sure.
But then for them to read it, and it just says, the person I'm with is struggling and may take us a while. We thank you for your patience. And all that does is set everybody's expectations.
Right.
And then that word will spread like wildfire. Whether if you give it to the hostess, it'll go to the waiter, it'll go to the bartender, whoever it is, so that they understand that table 14 is going to be here for a little while we process information a little bit slower. Yeah. So
I think those cards are great.
Yeah, I saw them and I loved them, and they're actually originally from the Alzheimer's Association, I believe.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, very cool.
Yes.
We covered a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. This was wonderful. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you.
Thanks for writing the book. Again, Pam's book is It's Not That Simple, Helping Families Navigate the Alzheimer's Journey. And Pam's book is found on Amazon.
And actually, breaking news.
Oh, okay. There's more.
Yeah. This morning, it's now available for order in Barnes and Noble, and actually, hopefully, in bookstores soon. But we'll see how attractive it is to people. But in general, this is ready for general distribution now.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you again for being here, and we look forward to the next visit.
Yes, I do as well.
All right.
Thank you, Sally. Have a good day.
You too.
This has been a Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business podcast. You can find all podcast episodes at iTunes, Spotify, or your own favorite podcast website. You can also find them online at mesachamber.org. Content of this podcast is copyright the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, unless otherwise noted.